Yo, what's up, guys?
Hello, hello. How's
Hey,
everybody doing?
Hey,
doing well.
Awesome, awesome. Did you guys check out the new soundboard? Do you know what it is?
No, not yet. What is that?
See that? Okay, I'm giving you access to a very powerful tool, so please use it carefully. Um, you, you see that magic wand you have there?
Yeah, I see it. Oh wow.
Okay,
So many
I'm gonna go.
options.
I'm gonna go for it.
All right, well we're gonna have to have no abusive sounds policy now. This is funny.
And
Dangerous. It's dangerous.
All right, so we're just waiting a few more minutes. We made some announcements, so just giving people a couple more minutes to get in here, and then we will get started. I'm excited.
100%.
And I know we have a bunch of people who like to watch the or listen to the recorded version. So we won't wait too long because I know that's where we end up getting a lot of people who tune in when it makes sense for them locally. So I guess the one thing to mention is that this is being recorded. So if you're not hearing it live, we will have it for you later. But glad to have some people here, and we're going to have a giveaway. So for those who are here, that'll be good incentive later, but we'll get started in about one more minute, and yeah, we'll get going. Some really cool conversation about game environments, the creation of game environments, and characters within games. So I think it's going to be a really cool discussion. We have some really interesting perspectives from kind of different types of projects here. We've got Digital Dogs and Boss Logic Universe, so two projects building somewhat different things, but similar, similar fidelity, similar high fidelity experiences. So we're really excited to get your perspectives, and I think we're about ready to get started. I'll get things going. So this is the Hideout, episode 3. For those of you who have never heard one of our spaces before, our goal with this particular segment that we're doing weekly is really to discuss, all different interesting topics within the metaverse and gaming space. So each week we bring on different guests who are leaders in their respective areas of the space, and we have some really awesome conversation around a particular topic. Sometimes those topics are informed by the community. Sometimes it's stuff that we think really resonates and is important. But every week we have a good conversation. So I'm really looking forward to today's chat. Like I mentioned before, the topic is going to be gaming environments and characters. So we'll get into what goes into the design of different gaming environments and the thought and stories that go into the characters themselves and how that all comes to be. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Nick. I'm one of the founders and the project lead for Satoshiverse. We're going to be joined by Santiago from Satoshiverse as well, and Spencer from Apollo Entertainment. And so I'll let everybody, and then we're going to have Dashi from the Digital Dogs and Belshevitz on behalf of Boss Logic Universe. So really good group. I'll let everyone kind of give a quick introduction of themselves and their projects for those of you who don't know, and then we'll jump into the topic. So turning my mic off, let you guys take it away. Maybe we'll start with the Digital Dogs.
Yeah, let's go. So, thank you so much for having us. Uh, Great, awesome bunch here. Interesting topics, and can't wait to answer some very tough questions by the audience. happy to throw in a giveaway ourselves as well. Our mint is very soon, October 26th, so we can give the highest tier with a lot of discount for our mint for the best questions. So yeah, Digital Dogs started about a year ago through the ideation process and etc. We've been through a lot in this year. We've participated in a startup accelerator. We raised funds. We created 3 different demos, and we're working on patented technology to power our ecosystem. What it is, I guess it's best to start with a vision. We want the metaverse to be interoperable, and we think that with growing digital identities, it makes sense that man's best friend, or human's best friend, more exact, is going to be part of that. And we want users, basically humans, to experience the metaverse with their trusted companions. So we're creating this SDK that will be connected to various apps, dApps, games, you name it, VR, AR. We already have set up these demos up. And you'll be able, through the ownership of your NFT, to load your dog in various environments and to interact with it in various levels. Right now, we're focusing on natural language processing, so basically talking with the dog, as well as keystrokes and etc. But down the roadmap, there's so much more to be developed, such as emotional recognition, facial recognition, voice analysis, and a lot of cool things that we're already working on. So if I have to explain it in a sentence, the vision is for you to have a companion that you can go and listen to a Snoop concert on one of the metaverses. Later on, play a battle royale game and get some additional XP for your dog, I don't know, chewing on your competitor's parachute or something. And then just hopping on to our own metaverse and doing a competition or participating in speed dating night or something like that. I didn't mention that we're also developing our own ecosystem because dogs need a home. So we're very oriented for interoperability, but we know that interoperability and different platforms have their own agenda. So we want to make sure that there's always a home for your companion.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. Thank you for giving us the rundown. Digital Dogs is definitely a project that I've become more familiar with over the last month or so, and I had a great conversation with Dashi, and I love what these guys are doing. So really, really cool project, and you'll be seeing some stuff that we'll talk about a little later coming from us with them. So cool stuff happening there. Belshibit, why don't you tell us?
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, of course, yeah. For those of us who don't know, tell us about the Boss Logic universe and what you guys got going on, and then a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. My name's Douglas Belshi. I go by Belshi Bits. I work with Boss Logic. Earlier last year, August of last year, he released the Gauntlet collection, 10,000 Gauntlets. It's like the Genesis asset to a new IP that he is creating. It's his own IP. For those that aren't familiar with Boss Logic, he is a world-renowned digital artist who has worked for the likes of Marvel and Disney and DC and many other brands and artists different companies that require his talent and expertise. So one of his life goals that he's been working on for over 10 years is to create his own IP, something that resonates with him. A large factor of it is going to be music, but he is currently working on the characters that are part of his IP, the frequency IP. And so he's released a few of them. You can find them on our Discord. You can go through some of the characters that he has released. He is working on some of the last ones, which will then roll into the avatars. Each gauntlet in our 10,000 collection will receive an airdrop of an avatar at random. And then these avatars will be based off these characters within the frequency IP. And this is all leading up to Verse U, which is a 2D profile, like a fighting game similar to Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Killer Instinct, those types of games. And so he is working with a studio called Lineage to create this game and to clean, just to kind of work on this IP with him. And so I help with the communications between Lineage and Boss Logic with our community and the different things that we have going on. So we're kind of taking a slower approach to things with no direct timelines, but the focus that Boss Logic has is quality. He's known for his quality of work and for his just his style and his flair. And so he wants to make sure that resonates within his own IP. So he's just making sure that when he releases something to the public, that it's going to be something of high quality that meets the expectations that his community has. So we're really excited for that and working towards that, and hoping that all these things will be a part of the metaverse, and for people to really gravitate towards. Boss Logic's hope and desire is that, like he has found inspiration and like pop culture and different things, he hopes that people will find inspiration with his own IP and do their own creations based off of it. That is the ultimate prize in his eyes, to see people use his IP to create and to find inspiration from.
Awesome. And I think we've known Boss Logic for a long time, and I've been a huge fan of everything he's done in the space, big collector of his personally, but so great. It's so cool to see what you guys are doing. And I think it's going to give us a really unique perspective too on this talk, because of the style of game that you guys are designing and how that might influence, some of the character design and the environments more generally. But like something you said, with the IP beyond just the game, it's going to be really cool to talk about. I think a little bit of what that looks like, what goes into that, character design beyond just the this couple seconds or minutes or hours you see them in the game. There's just a lot to it, and that's a kind of a good segue for us to introduce our own art lead, Santiago, who is here on behalf of Satoshiverse. So why don't you introduce yourself, Santiago, for those of you who don't know?
Hey guys, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the art director of the Satoshiverse. We've been working on our IP for around a year and a half, maybe a year. We started with the Legionnaires, that maybe some of you know, and from there it's been growing, and we're currently developing a video game that utilizes all the IP that we've been creating. I'm a big fan of Boss Logic, so super cool that you guys are here. And similar to what you've been saying, I think a crucial part of our universe is to create IP that feels relatable and that people actually like and people use and people would like to sort of see in their daily basis. So I think we can agree, and there's a ton of parallels there as well.
Thank you, Santi. And last but certainly not least, the host for the rest of this AMA. Let's introduce Spencer. Spencer, introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up? I'm Spencer. I've been working with Apollo Entertainment for, I think it's coming up on about a year and a half now, helping out with all things Satoshiverse and Jose Delbo. Really excited to be here and learn. I'm not necessarily a huge gamer myself, but excited to learn from all of you guys who are building in space. And yeah, so just to get into our discussion, I have a initial question for everyone, actually, not for anybody in particular. So my question is, what are some of your favorite games that serve as inspiration for you when you're designing environments and characters?
I mean, I can speak on this for Boss Logic. He's mentioned it many of times, but Street Fighter is a huge influence on what's coming out. So he's super excited. I think it's Street Fighter 6 that's coming out here soon. It's being developed, and they used to play all the time growing up, him and his brothers, and uh, they actually were in tournaments and different things within Australia. And so definitely Street Fighter is a huge inspiration to the Versu game that's being created within Boss Logic universe.
Awesome. Well, I'll go. I think that, for me it's been, well, there's games I think that are inspiring what we're building, and there's games that have just stood out. I think for me, one that kind of checks both boxes is Diablo. We've probably mentioned it a bunch of times, but Diablo is kind of very different stylistically. But a lot of the swarming and the maps, and a lot of the deep kind of, you feel like you're in an environment that means something when you're playing through the game, I think is really cool. I would say there's probably very little in terms of the art that you'll see translate into our game, but that's probably one of my favorites in terms of game environments. And then I also really like the Final Fantasy series, the game environments there. I think those are awesome and so rich. And I think, Santi, you'd probably have better perspective on this as well, because you're actually designing a lot of the game environments.
Yes, I guess from the artistic perspective, we've been taking a ton of inspiration from different games. So everything from The Last of Us to Fallout, to Cyberpunk to God of War and Hades. I don't know. There's a ton of influence in our game from a ton of games that we love, and I think yeah, this general aesthetic not only that comes in games, but also this cyberpunk aesthetic that comes also from Akira and some cool animes and some 70s comic books. So we've been taking inspiration from everywhere, and I think as soon as we release the game, you can definitely, you're going to be able to see a ton of little Easter eggs and things here and there that feel like they are part of all these universes that we took inspiration from.
Yeah, I'm happy to go. I mean, for us, it's very a unique use case, so maybe it's slightly different from you what you guys have been inspired by. Huge shout out to all the names that you dropped of your favorite games here. I used to be on them for hours. For us, the inspiration for the idea actually came from a real dog. But when it comes to a gaming perspective, I mean, there are a huge amount of games, including companions in their story, in their lore, in their game. And, some of them are Far Cry, Metal Gear Solid, and etc. So we're looking to take that to the next level, and yeah, exciting stuff.
Very cool, guys. Um, so Dashi, I'll actually throw it back to you again. So what went into designing the characters for Digital Dogs?
Right. So I remember in the early days we had this discussion where we weren't sure if we want to do hyper realistic or animated dogs. Um, if we weren't sure if we want to do them maybe realistic but more like Pixar style. So for us, the process was very unique. We actually started by consulting with experts that we knew from our first circle. We also uh, looked at the more successful games and experiences that were available that did have a somewhat of an interactive dog. And then yeah, we decided to go with our current style, which is hyper realistic with elements that tie it to like a futuristic type of view with the metaverse, right? And the process of actually selecting the dogs was a mixture of a community vote as well as plain research on the most common or most beloved, in other words, breeds that are available today, or like most spread out today around the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Thanks. And now Belshi, so you spoke a little bit about this in your intro, but I was hoping you'd go in a little more detail. So how are you actually expanding on the Gauntlet collection and releasing the characters for the game? So kind of like what does the characters look like, and kind of what went into developing them?
Yeah, no, great question. So, in the beginning, when the gauntlets were released, there were three major kind of aspects that were released to the public of like what Boss Logic would be working on. One was a character collection, or like a kind of a fun collection called Blocks that has now kind of been moved over to a new group who is actually running the Blocks characters, but each holder of the gauntlets received a Blocks. And the other two were these avatars, which are more like a PFP profile. Boss Logic wanted to do something a little different, and so he went with the gauntlets first, which will be tied into his IP and the collection as more in depth than just like these gauntlets. Kind of the feel from many of his artwork that he's done from like the Thanos gauntlet and things like that. It's going to expand on that and be more part of like what his story is. And so these characters, right? This is like the meat of it. This is the soul of like everything that he's doing. And so that's why it's taking longer than what originally he was planning on. He didn't want to just throw it out. He wanted to get it done right. And so he kind of changed some of the initial, announcements he made to the community so that what he released was true to what he originally set out to be. And a lot of that comes around the soul of each character within his world that he's creating. And so this first group, right, is Frequency. And so Frequency has a number of different characters. One that's been kind of shared a lot is Melody. And, Melody will have her own like special use cases and aspects about her. A lot of the details can be seen within the announcements in our Discord for those that are interested in more going in depth of like the limited amount of information that's been released. But it's these characters, who they are, who they represent, where they came from, their backstory. Also, like what world, like what is this world that they're a part of, right? Like what is this initial world that we are going to be explaining and sharing? There's just a lot that comes out with like this IP, right? Like Avengers, right? One of the most well-known kind of group, IPs out there. We learned all these different origin stories, right? And they all became collective to this initiative of what the Avengers would be doing. And so there's all these like character developments and all the story and the world that they're a part of. And then you get it all crazy with the multiverse and different things like that. But you had to be taken on these like different steps, right? You had to be introduced to like, well, why are these characters the way they are? What's the larger picture? What's like the government style? What's the world like? Is it post-apocalyptic? Is it real world? Is it futuristic? Like you've got to like take into account like all these different things. And so that's what Boss Logic is doing right now with Lineage is creating this like basis of like who these characters are and where they're coming from and why they will be doing what they will be doing, right? And so the initial thing to like introduce these individuals will be this avatar drop. It'll be the character artwork of these individuals that will then be able to be airdropped to holders of the gauntlets, which will then move us closer to the verse you game, where you'll actually be interactive. We're partnered with Wilder World, a 5D photorealistic world that we have plans to, develop further later on down the road. As soon as Boss has, worked out the things he needs to before he starts expanding into these other types of partnerships. So it's really exciting. It's the ground level stuff that many people understand, but it's what's necessary in order for something to be successful. And in the end, that's what the early investors of those that purchased Gauntlets really want, is they believed in Boss, they believed in his network, and they want that quality in return for the support that they've given him over the past year and a few months. So.
Nice. Yeah, just as you were talking there, I went on your Instagram and took a look at the characters. Yeah, Melody is super cool looking with the kind of the triple bionic arm, and I really like Ingram as well. I get like a kind of like a robotic Jon Snow vibe from him.
Yeah, and also, yeah, I love that you said that. I love that coat because it's very much like a Jon Snow feel, and then you like flip off that coat, and here you have kind of this futuristic, like robotic looking man. Yeah,
Hmm.
I like Ingram a lot.
So next question is for Nick. What did the concepting process look like for the Satoshiverse characters, and were the designs influenced by the story and lore, or vice versa?
It's a good question. I think it was a mixture of all of the above, right? Depending on which collection and what point in time. And so I guess I'll kind of give a brief history of high level, and then I'm sure Santi will get into it a bit later of the specifics. But we had this idea that was based around this concept of rebellion and anonymity, right? Those were kind of these two core functions within our lore that, while the lore wasn't fully developed at the time, we knew that we wanted to develop a series of characters, of heroes that would be all unique from each other, right? So we had our core heroes, Satoshi the creator, and there's other non-player characters. There's other characters that kind of fold into the storyline and will fold into the game. But our players, right? We wanted the players to have kind of their unique look, and at the core of that look was, we knew we wanted a mask, and we kind of took inspiration from the anonymous, the Guy Fawkes mask, which is obviously very iconic, which inspired Satoshi's mask, right, with Satoshi the creator. So we knew we wanted to incorporate that mask into our characters, and then we knew that we wanted to have them be completely anonymous, right? So those two lore elements, the fact that you wouldn't know what gender they were, what skin color they were, what eye color they were, because they were covered from head to toe in clothing, was the basic premise from which we built out the 12 body types and the different characteristics for the different characters that ultimately became our Legionnaires. From there, I think it kind of it flipped, right? It was very lore driven as we were looking at kind of the atmosphere we were building and thinking, okay, we have a very realistic kind of could happen in the real world, dystopian scenario where you have this rebellion led by humans. And so we wanted to expand upon that lore, and we did through the idea, again, kind of high level, that we wanted to introduce some sort of humanoid animals, like crossbreeding between them, and have those be tied in somehow, so that we had this kind of fantasy element to the Satoshiverse. And I think that will expand over time, kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe began to embrace fantasy in a lot of their stories that may not have had it in the comics, or at least they've expanded upon it through things like Guardians of the Galaxy. And really, we've found that those are IPs that people love. So we wanted to bring that into Satoshiverse and make that part of our story. So kind of with that, mandate, right? Santi and the rest of the team got started on concepting different potentials for, half animal, half human characters that could serve as the basis for our 8-Mo Army collection, of course, inspired by Captain 8-Mo, which was driven by the IP that Jose created, based on the Bored Ape. So kind of there was a lot of different things that inspired the basic concepts for the characters, which were all, you know, kind of based in our lore. But then from there, I think a lot of the iterations on those characters were then kind of kicked back to us from, you know, the art team and our team of designers, who then kind of kicked it back to me and said, oh, well, we have this, what if we did this, what if we did that? And that kind of became part of the lore. And it was a nice back and forth, I think, to arrive at what we really feel proud of and think is a great result on both ends, both the lore, you know, explaining the characters, and the characters themselves. And so the other part of that with 8 Mil Army, as many of you know, is that we have kind of the heroes, and then we have the avatars, right? And so the idea is that the avatars are based on the genes of the heroes, but the heroes themselves have their own personalities. So, you know, you have Maverick the wolf, who has a backstory. You have, you know, Zhao the ape, who has a backstory, and the Freya the bear, and the bull, and I'm missing one, but I'm sure it'll come to me. But oh, and the lynx. How can I forget the lynx? So you had Kara. All these characters who then they themselves have backstories and lore that go with them, and we kind of view each one as something that can be expanded upon, and we hope that both the heroes and their respective avatars, that connection through your avatar to a particular hero, I think gives a kind of an extra, you know, sense of connection to the hero itself. And so as we expand the lore of the Satoshiverse, I think the inspiration of the collection will actually inspire further lore, even though the lore kind of started as the inspiration for those characters. I think the way it's played out in our community, and, you know, kind of this collective effort and collective want, will inspire further lore. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yes, Santi, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Nick nailed it. It's basically a back and forth between the lore and also like a ton of liberty that the artist and myself included have taken, and I think part of the coolest things of working within Apollo is that liberty that artists have, and that idea of how every single person within the team can sort of add ideas into our universe, and is an important factor of creating new art and new characters and new stuff for our world. So definitely, I think the crucial part of the creative process has been the people that we've surrounded ourselves with. I think everyone from Jose Delbo, which is like the founding seed of our creations, to um, all the team back in Colombia that has also created some cool ass characters, and I think it's a combination of a ton of factors that has definitely ended up in a, I think, a super cool universe.
Nice. Love it. So next question I'll open up to everyone. So what gaming engines are you using to build your characters and environments, and why did you choose them?
My understanding is that we're building in Unreal Engine 5. A lot of it is because of the technology going behind Unreal Engine. The realistic ability, a lot of the the polys that you're able to build for environments, as well as the lighting tools that you have within there. And so my understanding is, in the end, that's where our game will end up, is using Unreal Engine 5. Now, a lot of it is we feel like that's the direction that gaming is going in. And so instead of trying to play catch up, it's there's, you know, a saying of like skating where the puck is going to be. And so, you know, looking down the line, that is what people are gravitating towards, is a more, you know, photorealistic type of view. They want to be immersed in these types of things. And so we're hoping to keep up with that trend and be able to release our game with Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, I can definitely relate on that. That Unreal 5 just looks amazing. We took the approach that because we're developing and our vision is to be integrated and interoperable with as many platforms, games, applications as possible, right? So it could be a VR or AR or game. We needed to make sure that we have the capability to develop on both, and we presented that recently. Like, I mean, the first demo we released is a demo where you can converse with the dog, and like kind of make it do tricks and train it and etc. And that's on Unity. And then our recent demo where you walk around our headquarters lab and we created that experience to just like showcase the brand in a more fun and interesting way rather than just a website. And that's on UE5, and it's also in collaboration with a server side or like a pixel streamed type of startup that we collab with. So it looks extra amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Joshua?
as for us, we've been also developing the video game in Unreal 5, I think. Similar what other people were saying, the facilities that Unreal has brought to the table, I think right now are unmatched. I think Unity as well is amazing, but I think things like Nanite and Lumen and all these technologies that are basically creating a new style of video game and that is so easy to implement and so easy to basically use to create fantastic worlds is why we chose Unreal. I think it's an awesome platform and it wouldn't make sense to create something from scratch. I think right now, especially with the idea of interoperability, it's Unreal 5 is totally the way to go, at least for now. And so we've been building there because I think it's an amazing platform. I think what Epic is doing in general, supporting NFTs in the future and this idea of, I don't know, Epic, I think it's a fantastic company in this sense, at least. I don't know if in general, but at least in Unreal, I think what they are doing is amazing. So that's why we chose Unreal, because I think it's the way things are going, and also I believe that in the long term they are a super stable platform that we can continue updating and growing in. So that's why we chose Unreal.
All right. Well, we have a special announcement. Every week, as some of you already know who have attended in the past, but every week we plan on doing a cool little giveaway at these Twitter Spaces during the Hideout. And this week we are giving away an 8 Mil Army avatar, and our community everything person Danny has selected the winner of today's, and it is a longtime member of the Satoshiverse community and OG collector of Jose Delbo, who I am excited to see here, and it's Crypto Mackerel. So congratulations, Crypto Mackerel. Good job. You'll be DMing us, I'm sure, soon, and send us your ETH address, and we'll send over that 8 Mil Army avatar. But we'll be doing something every week, so keep popping by and enjoying these Twitter Spaces. But also as a little incentive, we'll keep doing these giveaways just to get you guys here live. But really excited again. Congratulations, Crypto Mackerel, and all right, back to you, Spencer. We'll jump back in.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. So next question is for Dashi. How would you say designing characters that are companions is different from designing main characters?
Oh my God, the pain. I'm kidding. No. Okay, so listen, we did a very long, thorough investigation and process on this world of hyper realistic looking companions. For now, it's dogs, but the parent company is actually called the Digital Pets Company. So, you know, expect more. So with the dogs, what we did is first, it's like I was half joking because it really is a pain. Like the specificalities that you need to go through in order to find and onboard the artists that design the characters are crazy. Like, good luck going to find like a talented grooming artist that knows how to deal with specifically dog fur. Like, crazy. It's like finding literally a needle in a haystack. It's like impossible. The ones that are doing a tremendous job usually, you know, charge more than what I make in 3 years. So it's like good luck with that as well. So it was like really a very challenging process. Once we decided that we're going down that road where we are doing hyper realistic looking companions, it was super tricky to build the team, and we explored various ways. Obviously, we wanted to, you know, release the product as soon as possible, to make sure that the quality is amazing and that the animations and everything is like super tight, right? So there are like maybe 2 3 companies around the world that actually, you know, source out these services. So we explored that as well, but the model just didn't make sense. We wanted, you know, IP. We spoke a lot about IP, so we wanted to have control over the IP and grant it to the users as well. So that didn't work out with sourcing out. There's an interesting company, I won't tell you the name, but what they do is they create this set of hyper realistic looking animals, and then they're like a digital zoo. So they kind of rent it out for other people to use. So like if you're a company and you're doing a commercial and you want a dog on a skateboard, so you go to them, they have the dog, and they set you up with that. So that's kind of cool. So this is just an example to explain how complicated it really is to get this type of results that we believe that we reached with our companions. It's so complicated that there's companies, like maybe singular one company that's actually, you know, has 80 designers and that's all they do, and they lease those animals to other companies that need a beautiful looking 3D creature.
Very cool. Yeah, I would not have expected it to be so difficult to find designers to do things like hyper realistic fur and things like that. But I'm very happy that you guys, I guess, have been able to find what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, it was really, it was a very long process for us, but once we found the team, you know, we started working on the process is very artistic in a way. What we do is we look for the best examples and of what we're doing, uh, of what we're dealing with in real life, and there's inspiration boards, and just it's just a back and forth, getting feedback from various people who are not necessarily from the team as well. So we'll be like as subjective as possible, and yeah, that's basically the process that we go through. Um, it's very interesting to see it evolve. I think if you scroll back and you look at the first Shiba Inu model that we shared, it looked amazing. But compared to what we just tweeted 2 days ago, it's like, you know, different levels.
That's awesome. Nick, I believe you have an announcement to make.
Yeah, so kind of playing off that topic of these awesome dogs that these guys are creating. We have been offered and are graciously accepting our very own Satoshiverse dog vial, which will eventually become a Satoshiverse community dog within the Digital Dogs universe. So we are, and potentially within ours. So we are very excited about that. over the coming weeks, we'll all learn a little bit more. You know, in the near future, we'll learn a little bit more about what this means, and this is going to be a community effort. So we'll be working together to decide on a name and all the different traits of the dog. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming soon. But just wanted to thank the Digital Dogs for giving us that awesome vial, which you'll see very soon in an announcement.
Awesome. First time I'm hearing of this. Love it.
Yeah, it's a very cool concept. If it's okay, I've been hugging the mic, but I just want to say a word on this. Um, this is something that we thought about very early on, and we're super excited to see it unfold. We think that dogs, like just like you have a family-owned dog, right, and everybody takes care of it or interacts with it, and sometimes you have an office dog, like a dog that just hangs around the office, and people kind of show it love, and it shows love back. So we wanted to create something like this for communities. It's a separate collection of what we're going to drop soon, which means that we have full flexibility on everything almost. So we want the communities to be involved in shaping how that dog eventually is, and it's everything from fur color to traits and characteristics.
Yeah, well, maybe this one can be part dog, part machine, just like Satoshi the creator himself. So next question is for Belshi. How is your style of gameplay influencing the environments that you are creating?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to do my best with this. A lot of this, Boss Logic is kind of keeping close to the chest as far as some of the story development behind the scenes. But a lot of it, with it being kind of a fighting game, obviously there's going to be a dynamic within the story, right? Of why are these characters going to end up, fighting each other? What's the backstory? What are the reasons behind it? Are there friendships? Are there enemies? Those types of things we can expect to fall out of that story development. But like, what's the bigger picture? Why why is this tournament, or why is there this fighting? What's the world happening behind them, and what got them to this point? And that's what's a lot of fun with it, right? Like, it could just be that you're just jumping in, you're like, oh, I like this style of character, like I like a brew, I like someone who does better with kicks or punches, or they're better in range, or they're better close up, right? Like, you can pick a character based on like fighting styles and whatnot. But once you like start to learn, like, who are these people, why are they there, what was their backstory, their origin story, and you start to develop like a level of care for the individual characters, which then just creates the game and the world being created as a little bit more in depth, a little bit more enjoyable to be a part of. Iron Man isn't Iron Man without the love of like who he is, how he got there, the story. Same with Spider-Man and Superman and all these other characters that people like, or that are very well known, that people fall in love with. A lot of it comes down to a well-written story, a well-written character, and that's what Boss Logic is really trying to do. Is one, to really create an environment that people fall in love with, that get enveloped in, as well as characters that people can relate to, they find joy in, that they can be champions of, because those are the characters they're going to pick to play the game, to further on within the game, and to fight and to enjoy. And there's going to be a lot more, right? There's going to be a lot more attached to these characters. So then it's not just the game, but the other avenues of media that are going to be released through Boss Logic and Lineage, in order to tell the story and to develop that story and to expand that story into greater, bigger worlds and universes that all the fans and the community will be able to be a part of. So that's kind of the direction that the project is going. But it's obvious, right? It's a fighting game, so there's got to be what's the story? Why are they fighting each other? What's going on? And so it's going to be really interesting to find the origins of like why verse U is present, and what the story is behind it.
Nice. Yeah, with Boss Logic's previous work with Marvel and Disney, not surprising that he has so much of a focus on character development and story and lore. So yeah, very excited to see everything that comes out with that.
Yeah, me too.
And so my last question here is for Santi. Something that makes the Legionnaires super unique is the complex custom environments and the backgrounds of all the avatars. So how are those environments inspiring the environments within the game?
Yes, I think the first time that we started sort of understanding how we wanted the world to look was in the environments for the Legionnaires. So I think it was like our first attempt of understanding how this dystopian world would look like, and from there we have definitely taken a ton of inspiration. Of course, it has evolved a ton, and I think now it's a little bit more lore driven, and it has a ton of more intention to it. So I think it's definitely inspired by it, but it has mutated a ton, and it's a totally different vibe, and it's totally different. But again, like that's the first iteration, if you will, of the world of the game. So I think that's how we sort of evolved, or were inspired by those first attempts.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, that's all of my questions that I had prepared ahead of time. We have a couple minutes left. Is anybody from the audience want to come up and ask a question?
While we're waiting for that, I can ask a question for Digital Dogs. I was wondering, are you working with other metaverses where people would be able to take their digital dogs into that world to be able to utilize it? I feel like companionship is so huge in the real world that I can imagine that whatever, I don't see the metaverse as one individual, platform. I see it as a collection of all the platforms, and hopefully they'll be able to be interoperable, working between each other, where people will be able to jump from place to place as like the universe is the metaverse, and these different solar systems and different worlds will be the different things like Decentraland and Sandbox and other side and these other metaverses being created. And so I was just interested in like, who are you, can you share with who you're talking to, who you want to kind of expand your companions into?
100%. I think the answer is everybody, like every platform that would like to integrate with us. We'd love that as well. There are already, I think, 3 or 4 partners that we agreed upon different things that we're going to do once the SDK is ready. So it's very like we take a very startup type of approach. We don't announce partnerships if they're not like, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and etc. We have understanding with about like 5 different platforms. So that would be AR, VR, and a metaverse built on UE5 as well. Currently, the stages that we're in with that is mainly coordinating the timelines. Some of these platforms haven't even released everything that they want to build themselves, right? Or like in terms of the MVP. So it's a very processy type of thing, but 100% if like what I mentioned earlier is that we're focusing on our SDK, and the reason for that is because it will basically integrate to everything that we're doing, from our partners to even power our own ecosystem, our own metaverse. And we had this vision from day one of, I mean, it's cool to have a companion, but if you can't take it outside, it's not that cool, right? So the entire concept is interoperability. We want to create for other platforms this experience where users come and enjoy with their companion. For example, one of the partners I can give you a good example is Metropolis World. We have land there. We're going to build the dog parks there. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of partners interested. We also had, it's not like for name dropping's sake, it's just for, companies are always, and IPs are always looking for developing and growing and expanding and experimenting as well. And we had a couple of Fortune 500 companies approach us and they wanted a demo of what we're doing and how we're doing and why we're doing. And it was really interesting to see that because, eventually our product is not out yet, right? We're in the lure and building stage, but it was interesting to see how big companies get the concept fairly fast. And for us, it was very native to go through Web3 building this project because, we could have just done it in Web2 as well, right? It's AI-driven companions. It doesn't have to be through NFTs, but our vision was interoperability in the open metaverse. And this is why we chose NFTs as the medium of, giving our future users the ownership over their dog.
I totally imagine a companion running around with the Legionnaires in our world, so that would be super cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, games are metaverses as well in a way, right?
Right.
Looks like Yopster has a question. Do you want to come up and speak it?
Hey, yeah, thanks for letting me come up and ask my question. How you doing, Nick? It's good to talk to you again.
How's it going, man? Good to talk to you too.
Love this project and all the awesome collabs for doing high quality collabs, not just just a retweet kind of thing, but actual value add. And Dashi, so I have a couple questions for you. I'm really excited about this dog for the Satoshi verse. And immediately come to mind, I'm like, I want to meet this guy, this little furry guy, and I want to see him at our Satoshiverse HQ in Decentraland. When do you think that will be possible? Like, how are we looking at a couple quarters, like next year, a couple weeks? Like, what's our timeline on being able to meet our furry companion that goes along with the Satoshiverse? And I'm assuming we'll be able to meet up with him in Decentraland. And I have like a follow-up question related to like the IBC that you've been talking about, but I'll let you respond to that first.
100%. So great question. It's important to note that our dogs actually have 2 stages, or like 3 stages. Right now we're minting the DNA vials, right? Satoshiverse will get their one-of-one drop to the community or company wallet. But in general, the process for getting a dog is that you mint a DNA vial, you incubate it. During the incubation, the entire process is like the metadata updates as you progress, as the embryo progresses and grows. You're able to play an incubation game that will affect the traits of the future dog. Once the incubation is finished, then the traits are locked in, and then you get a pup. So that's like the first form of the dog, and then it grows into a young adult after the puppy game. Let's call it that for a second. So these are the general stages. It's a gamified process. You don't have to, like, I know a lot of people just want a cool companion for the metaverse and they don't necessarily have like the 10-15 minutes a day to play this game. So that's cool. You don't have to, it's not mandatory. So in terms of the roadmap, we dropped the roadmap a long time ago. We figured it doesn't make sense anymore to pressure ourselves to stick to a specific, month. So in terms of looking ahead, the timeframes are SDK and our own metaverse environment released in early 2023. So that will be Q1-ish, right? And I can tell you incubation will take about 2 months. And then you have the puppy game, which is basically you training the dog and unlocking a bunch of stuff before you walk around with it in the metaverse. So the short answer, the Satoshiverse dog will be you guys will be able to interact with it in 2023 probably. It might be a bit earlier because it's a one-of-one dog and it's a community dog, and you also have to know that for us, in our opinion, these dogs are like the ambassadors, right, for what we're building. So it might seem like they are, a separate collection or like they're like on the side, but for us, they're super important because if we do a good job with them and the communities are excited for them, it will help our idea grow and spread widely and become more quote unquote normal, right? To have a companion in the metaverse. So we are looking to speed things up for that specifically.
I get it. Yeah, thanks for sharing the details. It's always hard to put like a date on it and a timestamp, and good quality products take time to build. So that's a tough question I asked. So I appreciate you taking the time to answer that. I love everything about what you're saying so far, including your toolkit for compatibility with other blockchains. I'll have a question about that to follow up if you don't mind. But I did also want to ask Nick as well. How are we going to go about like the mechanics of? I'm excited about the mechanics within the governance of the NFT collection for the Satoshis and the 8mo. How are we going to pick a name for this? I'm very excited to pick a name for this community dog. So I'll definitely be staying in tune. But if you have any guidance on how that would go down, because like I actually am a big dog person and I have 2 dogs, but neither one of them was I able to get the opportunity to name. They were both like kind of adopted from bad situations, just kind of one-offs. That's how I got both of my dogs currently, but like I was never able to name one. So I'm kind of excited to name or help be at least participate in the naming of the community dog,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a great question. I think it actually hits on a larger issue, or not issue, but thing that we are working on and planning as we continue to, and I don't want to go too deep because we're a little over time, but as we're getting deeper into building the game, having something that you guys can look at, and now getting to a point where there's a lot of things that the community can influence. We do have our holder channels in the Discord, and it may not be live, but the idea is to have it live, a vote channel in the Discord that's going to be gated for holders of either the Legionnaires or the 8mo Army collection. And so I think this will be a great opportunity to, I guess, start with a handful of names, right, and then put it to a vote of the holders, and do something in the Discord, and use a method that everybody can relate to, and that we've got at our disposal. I think that'll be a good way to do this one.
Wow.
I just want to give a sorry to interrupt. I just want to give a quick shout out. I'm sorry for the cat background noise. I know it's not very on brand, but I just want to give shout out to teams who want to collaborate and bring value to their community. As a founder, it's not very easy. There's a lot of things that you want to communicate, and there's like complexities to what you're building, and Satoshi, and it's really not simple for teams to just say, yeah, okay, we'll let our community engage on something that we are not necessarily, like building, and we want this experience for the community to enjoy. It's a tough decision. It's not something simple, and kudos to the team who has the community in front of them and just looks for what's the best for the community. So highly appreciated that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of ditto, right? The other side of the coin is that we are working so hard on the things we're working on, and it's so nice when we get someone who after all the screening, and because we probably get 100 messages a day that we sift through about collaboration and whatnot. Once we get through all that and we find projects that are looking to collaborate and provide value that's different from ours, I think that is such a valuable thing, right? To be in a position where we can say yes to these things and say, yes to, okay, yeah, there's no downside for us. Let's do this. Let's, vet. Let's make sure that everything looks solid. Let's make sure that this is good for the community, and then let's do it, because I think that's what this space is all about. I think it's about collaboration, and I think that that's the future of how an open metaverse survives, right? And how it can survive in what's going to obviously be several closed metaverses that are of high fidelity and high value, and you've got massive companies spending billions of dollars building these things, and they're coming. So if we want to have this concept of an open metaverse, and this concept of us actually all working together to build something that's bigger, than the sum of its parts, I think there has to be that collaboration. Otherwise, it just, we get replaced. We get, we kind of fall underneath, and we disappear unless we work together.
Yeah, strength in numbers, but quality collaborations, it will go a long way. Both parties bringing value add, and 2 + 2 is 5, that kind of thing. But I expected such a quality answer from you, but I was it's always great to hear. Nick, that was just fantastic to give the holders of an NFT the opportunity to participate in decision making is essentially the core ethos of the blockchain and decentralization. And I love it. I love every part of this project so far. You guys keep up the great work. I do have one other tough question for Dashi if we have time, but I know you mentioned we're running up on close on time. I don't know.
I mean, I'm okay with the question. Whatever you guys.
Great.
Yeah.
I appreciate you spending your time to share what you guys are building and bringing. I know it takes away your time from actually building, and it's a long road ahead of building. But I'm excited now to follow you guys' project. And one thing I heard you mention is you have aspirations. You kind of slipped it in there that you had potential aspirations to have your own chain. So you're going to start off with a toolkit, an SDK, and then kind of work through collaboration and maybe make your own chain down the road. Did I hear that right?
No, sorry if this was misunderstood or like I phrased it wrong. Okay. No, we're not interested in creating our own chain. But yeah, the SDK is going to be like what connects your dog to various environments and enables you to load the dog in various environments. Yeah, but no, we're not looking to develop our
so
own
you
chain.
use the term interoperability, and
right,
to me that brings on a lot of familiar. I'm a Cosmos person, so we're just the IBC, Inter Blockchain Connection, is just everyone is an app chain out there, and there's like 50 plus chains that are live right now, and they all like connect and talk to each other and add their value. And there's several like metaverse centric projects. Like it just makes sense to be your own chain out there if you're gonna have your own metaverse or whatever. But if not, like if you're looking to just be connected and interoperability, that's definitely, if I were going to suggest anything, I would say maybe check out some of the metaverse projects that are building in the Cosmos that have their own chain, and see how that interoperability might, because they're building to be interoperable with Ethereum as well. So you're interoperable with Ethereum plus you're in the Cosmos and have like a lot more freedom. But anyways, I was just curious. I heard you mention that as part of like the overall goals and having the toolkit. So that might be something that you take into consideration. One of them I know, it's called Passage 3D. I mean, essentially there's two of them out there. They're called Territory and Passage. Both of them, they're their entire own chains building metaverses. So I mean, if you can, the more projects you're interoperable with, the better, right? It doesn't hurt to collaborate and check in on them. But yeah, if you hadn't heard about those, check them out.
100% great insight. I used to be a big DeFi head and DeFi degen, and very familiar with the Cosmos ecosystem and the IBC. So yeah, this is definitely a road that we're looking to go down, and I mean, it's just a bit slightly early for us in terms of like actually talking about other ecosystems and how we are going to integrate with them. But the SDK is being built, mainly focused on EVM compatible chains at the moment. Our token system will be developed on Polygon, and the reason for that is, in general, that we are looking for mass adoption, and we want to have a lot of dogs running around the metaverse. So, so we need to focus first on the most widespread and adopted chains in terms of wallet, like unique wallets.
Totally get
And
it. You just reminded me why I thought of it too. Is like there's an entire chain called the Chihuahua chain in the Cosmos. They
really,
have their own. That's what brought it to my mind. I think for initially, they have their entire own chain. You know, Dogecoin, SHIB, right? Well, Hua is the ticker. HUA for Chihuahua, right? They have their own blockchain out there in the Cosmos, and they are working with Passage to make their own metaverse. They're calling the Hua verse. And like that just comes to mind, like when you're talking about a dog, the companion that can go into the metaverse with you, like they're building an entire dog metaverse. So like you might want to at least like touch base or follow them for sure, you know. But appreciate your time, and I love the great answers. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
I
All
was
right.
just
Thank
wondering,
you. Oh, go ahead.
real quick. Yeah, I mean, digital dogs is talking, and physical cat in the real life. The irony in that, I love it. I love hearing the cat purring in the background.
I I personally love animals. Like I had a hedgehog, I had a turtle that I saved from the street. Like it was almost run over. I had a lot of dogs. I currently have two dogs, but the cats make the most amount of noise. So it always makes me look not on brand. I don't appreciate it, but they don't listen. Sorry, cats don't listen.
I just had to say something. I was just chuckling here as I was hearing the cat in the background. You talking about digital dogs. So I was like, physical cat, digital dogs. That's how it has to go. All right, Nick, you can close this out. Sorry, man.
All right. Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. Thanks, Yopster, for those great questions. You know, every week we have some awesome guests. This was another great one. So thank you to Digital Dogs and Boss Logic Universe for joining us on here, Dashi and Belshi. Really great having you. Really enjoyed the conversation. We'll be doing this again next week. So stay tuned. We'll be doing
Yeah, so
another giveaway.
I'll just say
Yeah.
real quick. Next week, our topic is going to be comic IP and building comic IP in Web3. So it's going to be very much a comic focused conversation. We have some really great guests.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. You know, as you guys know, we've got our roots in comic art that go way back. So we've got some great guests for that, and excited to keep building, guys. We're going to have lots of announcements in the coming weeks, so stay tuned on the Satoshiverse front. But otherwise, if you haven't already checked out Digital Dogs and Boss Logic Universe, check them out. Give them a follow. You know, do your diligence. Check out what they're building. I know it's great stuff. I've become a fan of both projects, so definitely check it out. All right. So until next time, see you later.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you.
Thank you guys for hosting this. Awesome. Love you all. Thank you very much.